Oh, man, you talk about getting me all mixed up and conflicted, brother. Goodness gracious. And we're going to need some light, too.
Yeah, we're going to need some
light. I kind of see Flannel. And it's your boy, Brandon Dent, CADE Detroit Kool-Aid, your credentialed Pistons reporter and writer for the network. I'm somewhere in there. Hey, but you know what matters? That Honolulu Blue Lion right now.
Yep.
I know we're going to talk a lot of Lions today because we got to break down Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears.
Yes.
But, man, the Pistons had an opportunity last night. Wanted to see them dominate.
Yes.
And they laid an egg. They lost this thing in the first quarter. They did fight back, as we saw in that opening clip. But
there was some fighting.
There was some fighting, man. There was some. I got a couple videos on the show, but what up, though? Flannel Sam, this is the vet of the squad and network, Red Wings correspondent. I'm excited that we got the green light on some new content because there are a couple things that you're going to be involved in.
Yes, including something I may or may not be filming today.
Ooh.
May or may not be with somebody in this room on this show right now, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But I will say this, the fact that the lights were off when the show started, it wasn't Justin's fault. It was planned. It's basically a metaphor for the darkness I felt watching the damn Pistons play last night.
So you can go through all the teams. Like Lions, they're in a separate category, but all of them is like the Red Wings. They just all have a way to just break your heart sometimes.
Well, it's can't lose to the 5-20, now 6-20 Jazz or whatever the hell their record is.
That was a tough scene. I know they were missing Isaiah Stewart and Jaden Ivey, but hey, you know what? Let's see that game. I sent you that video, the 27-second one. It is like my quick post-game recap. Want to just give the people like also a little bit of like a behind-the-scenes look as well, like our walk from media all the way to the press conference room.
All right, give me 1 second. I just grabbed it right now.
I got you. And get the other one teed up too, man. Got a little holiday message from one Rick Mahorn, Bad Boys legend. And another legend, Mr. Christian 313, who we're going to actually have on the show. I was walking out the Players Club, right, from the press conference room. He was like, bro, y'all over there interviewing everybody except me? And I'm like, you know what? This is a guy who Jeff and I remember the first time we got to take Jeff at a Pistons game credentialed, and we met him, and he was really, really cool. And when I showed Jeff who he actually was in the city, historically too, like going back to a young guy in his early 20s, he did one of the biggest shoe drives for underprivileged kids in high school kids in Detroit. But
love it.
Hey, let's get that quick game recap. And you'll see us behind the scenes walking through the inner concourse at LCA. Pistons lose a game they had to have tonight, 126-119. Jazz came in with 5 wins, but they just started the game with a little bit more energy than the Pistons. They were shorthanded without Jaden Ivey, without Jalen, Isaiah Stewart tonight. They put up a fight, but it was just a little bit too much, too late. Want to see them start off a little bit better next game. Hey, about to go into the press conference and talk about it.
Rick, take the back of his head. Just say what up, Rick. Take the back of his head. Right, that's Rick. That's it.
The legendary Rick Mahorn.
That's Hampton for you. Hey, hold on. You know we talking that shit.
Holidays,
You know what I'm saying? Hold on. That's the Hampton.
Let's mix emotions because that was a game everybody believed the Detroit Pistons were going to go out there and make a statement. This was the first day you could vote for Cade Cunningham as All-Star, who he went out there and balled, but he got no other starters to help him. Beasley off the bench. He went off, and that's where you get kind of stuck in this in-between no man's land of, do you really remove a scoring from the bench to get a better start in the game? It's a tough one. And now to the point where I'm like, you know what? Maybe you allow the other guys to warm up because you can't keep digging a hole right now. But shout out to Rick Mahorn as well. He was saying, we were telling him turn around and take the picture. And my man, Mr. Christian 313 was like, take the back of his head. Take the back. He was like, take the back of my I was like, Rick, we got kids. But just to get a little bit into this Pistons game and just why it was so maddening for you, brother.
Well, as always, my least favorite thing in the world when it comes to watching the Pistons is when Cade goes off and gets absolutely no help, and then you get morons blaming him just because they're going to blame him whenever they lose. That's first off. Second off, you cannot, under any circumstances, no matter the game, no matter how hot they are shooting, you cannot let Keontae George and Colin Sexton basically throw their own personal party at LCA. You can't let it happen. And we can include Lauri Markkanen as well, who's actually kind of having a down year, but didn't look like it last night. And one other thing that I have to point out, Chase, take your victory lap. Tobias Harris stinks. I will join you when we pick it outside LCA and say done with Tobias Harris. He count for it. Team just gets hot. Despite all of that, despite Keontae George, Colin Sexton, and Lauri Markkanen, as I previously said, all going off, if you get anything from Tobias Harris, you still win. And don't get me wrong, Tim Hardaway Jr. or Sar Thompson, you're not off the hook either. And Jalen Duren didn't play well either. But it was Tobias Harris, the man that you paid, the man that I actually advocated for, and now I'm looking stupid. Tobias Harris stinks right now. There's no way around it.
Yeah, and that was the conundrum that they faced in the offseason. This is why, going back to last season, I continued to write articles. I continued to talk about it. I was inside the media room at the Performance Center talking about it with other guys. Like, look, they have to go and get a star. I don't care if it's a weak star, comparatively to what some people say. Like when you bring up guys' names like DeMar DeRozan, who had one of the best shooting split years last year and was top 25, top 30 player in the league, top 25 scorer in the league, people thumb their nose at that. And I'm just like, but why? We need guys that can go out there and just get buckets. And now you see that. When you get a guy like Malik Beasley, he's going to do that at a very, very efficient level. And for whatever reason, with Cade Cunningham, you get a player who can do that. And now he's having one of those career years. Now he's breaking records. Now he's leading the league in three-pointers made at a very, very efficient 41% from behind the arc. That's what I'm saying. So why not go and see? Can Cade unlock something with a guy like a Zach LaVine, with the Brandon Ingram? Because people keep talking about, well, Ingram don't be playing. Well, what expectations do they have right now, too? You got to think about that. If I'm a player like Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans and the main star Zion Williamson is in and out and in and out, what are we really doing? I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that my career can go as long as it can. And that's what I'm talking about, especially when you're getting interest from some other squads. If I'm Ingram, I'm sitting back saying, what are the Pistons doing? If I'm Ingram, I'm looking at I'm looking back at some of the other top tier teams. We know that the Warriors and other teams are trying to change things up. So it's like, I don't really look at that injury stuff and believe, that's just something that's going to hurt the Pistons. I promise you, give me 55 to 60 games of Brandon Ingram over 2 or 3 of the players we got right now that will play a full season. And I'm telling you, this Detroit Pistons team, it will look a lot better because you got to have that type of pressure from a scoring standpoint next to Cade Cunningham, especially if the shooters around him. You know what you're gonna get with Tim Hardaway. It's gonna be some days where he is winning us a game or being a major contributor from behind the arc. There's gonna be other games where it looks a little bit more pedestrian. So you need those guys that can be consistently there every night. Malik Beasley's one of those guys. Who else is?
I was about to say, we knew what we were getting with Tim Hardaway Jr., that he was going to be a little bit more streaky. His three-point shooting numbers and his shooting splits over the course of his career are pretty pedestrian, all things considered. But we saw how he basically won the Pistons the game in their previous matchup against the Heat when it looked like they were about to blow it. But you also saw in this game how he basically gave the Pistons nothing, was a part of a very cold shooting Pistons team from 3.
But, and just real quick, but we could say that about Tim Hardaway multiple times this season. That,
Absolutely.
You know what? I can think back to multiple games where he was a difference maker. But then when I think about Tobias Harris, I'm sure he was. I don't want to short him, and I don't want to disrespect him. But can you think of the game where he was the guy?
No.
Can you think of multiple games where it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that game where Tobias Harris was the man because of this? Most people are going to think about the missed free throws, and I don't want to just center on that one thing because I do believe he has a big responsibility. If he was playing the 3, I think that helps him out a little bit, especially if you have a 4-man that can help free up some space. The same thing we talk about with Cade Cunningham, Tobias Harris is going to go through the same stuff because he's going to get just as much attention defensively and people playing just as much aggressively against him than anybody else on the team other than Cade Cunningham. So I recognize from a basketball standpoint that's going on, and that's where I think the people, and we talked about it before, it's a time for a lineup change. That's where I believe you got to get a little bit more aggression around Tobias Harris, but you got to make sure that aggression is one that can also be efficient around him offensively, because when the defense crashes on him, it's not like his first step is getting faster. You see what I'm saying? It's just like you got to find a way at this point in time to scheme something. If he's here and he's getting $26 million a year, you have to get something out of that. It can't just be as much as it would please Cavassier Chase. punt him to the moon or to the bench.
To the bench. Like he's
I know. But even at 26 mil, bro.
He's a serviceable seventh man, maybe a sixth man on a playoff team. But us trying to make him the second player on this Pistons team is insane.
You're right. This is what we were preaching, that they need a scorer. Even with Jaden Ivey, I said I think he could be a 3. I think they still need to go get that 2, and Jalen Duren is a 4. That's when the Pistons are going to be a good team. And Tobias Harris, like you're saying, should just be. I'm hoping in 2 years, if he's that vet, that they can go and say, you know what, bro, let's lock you up on something cheap. Because I like the way that he interacts with this squad. I like the way that they listen to him, and there are some of those intangibles. But with him starting right now, it is not efficient. I see JB is over there raring to go. And Woodward Sports MVP in the jumbo booth. What up, brother?
I done told y'all. Hell, I told you before the season started that Tobias Harris was not it. I did not want him on this team, but everyone else around me was like, you know what? Give him another shot. Give him a chance. He seemed to improve a little bit more. And look at where we're at right now. Chase deserves his victory lap as well, too. But I tried to tell you guys, Tobias was not it, and I did not want him on this team.
It's that usage rate. That's what it is right there, and the responsibility. And you know what? Because I don't dividends from the shooting splits, at the very least. But what we're seeing right now, it's not sustainable for the Detroit Pistons towards the success that they want to have. Tobias has to be consistent, and he has to be reliable, and he has to be one of those guys that he has to know the team is going to look for him. Yeah. Think about when you get down the stretch of the game. We got a lot of young players who the promise has been, hey, we're going to learn to compete every night, but they haven't done that until this year. So now they're learning for the first time in their careers, outside of CADE Cunningham, what to do in these close game situations. If Tobias Harris, your highest paid vet, cannot get that done, if he can't be a prime example of that, I believe that is hurting the team more than anything else. He has to be able to, when that crunch time turns on, when it's winning time for those vets, he has to be kind of not go out there and hit 3 threes in a row, but the same impact that we know Tim Hardaway has had on several games this season. Tobias Harris was brought here to have that type of a game, more like 3 out of every 4 games. And right now he's having it 0 out of every game.
All Tobias Harris had to do last night, and all Tobias Harris needs to do during situations like this, where you're facing disaster. And unfortunately for the Pistons, what actually happened last night was disaster. But when you're Tobias Harris, you've got to stabilize things. You've got to hit some big shots in the fourth quarter where, despite how poorly you've played as a team, you've got to still come away with a win over a 5-win Jazz team. Going 3 of 13, 8 points against this Jazz team.
Did you see the rebound numbers?
Not good.
62 to 39.
Terrible.
This team has been a good team at rebounding. Those team stats, if you look at them, the Detroit Pistons largely have been a really good team at that. But that's where I realized when you lose a guy like Jaden Ivey, you lose a guy like Isaiah Stewart, you're losing a lot of heart. No matter what people believe about what Jaden Ivey is or is not, I do believe that there's a lot of heart that Jaden Ivey brings to the table, and there's a lot of hustle. His defense has taken a little step forward, even though you want to see some different improvements or become more consistent on the offensive side of the ball. But you definitely missed their presences last night, and it's something you got to think about as you move forward in the season with the trade deadline approaching.
Oh, yes. And speaking, when you mentioned the rebound numbers, I just keep thinking about that walking double-double that is Jalen Duren. Obviously, this is my sarcastic face.
For 2 years, I've been, you know what? No. I won't go there. He
got outplayed so noticeably by Paul Reed, it wasn't even funny. And you mentioned that in our group chat last night, and that's just unacceptable. Shout out to Paul Reed. Paul Reed actually was one of the standouts of the game, in my opinion. But you need more from Duren. Obviously, you need more from Tobias Harris. These are guys that you were counting on this year. Jalen Duren to maybe take a leap, and Tobias Harris to be one of your best scorers, your veteran presence, a guy that has played in a lot of big games and is supposed to be a leader during games like this, a game that you had to have, that you could have had, but you didn't. It's just unacceptable performance, and I hope that we don't look back at this game when the season's over and be like, man, the Pistons are a game or two out of the play-in. Only we won that Jazz game.
I got to do something because, and I do believe this, that the Pistons, this is a bump in the road. When J.B. Bickerstaff stepped to the podium, and maybe I'll play some of the audio on Monday, he was heated. He was frustrated.
Yeah.
You could tell they were bothered by this. Malik Beasley was like, yeah, we're bothered by it. But you could tell Malik Beasley as a vet, it was like, nah. And some of the stuff he told me at the Kroger event the day before, he reiterated in this press conference as well. And that's where I'm like, you know what, this team I believe will be okay. Duren is still young. I do believe he'll learn. But like a lot of the other players on this team, I believe that the usage and the responsibility is above right now that skill level. Whether it's Duren who needs to develop more or Tobias who's in a slump, right now it's too much on these players. And that's when you see them drop games like this. They got, like, what did he say, JB Bickerstaff? We got punched in the mouth. And we just couldn't quite recover. We fought, but it was just too much. A little too much, too late. And that was the thing. You know, seeing a guy like Ron Holland, his fight, his trainer even hit me up. He was like, bro, I apologize. I was like, bro, whoa. Don't apologize to us. Because I got to call this out. I saw Weezy D313 in there and say, bro, the fans came out. They showed up. Remember what we were saying? Pack it out. And they did show up last night. When I walked in and I saw that they were down that much, Weezy D313, this always freaking happens. LCA was on fire last night. The city came out for some BS to start the game. And that broke my heart. A couple other people in media were like, dog, man, the people showed up. They're a 5-win team in the middle of the week.
Yep.
And then you lay that type of an egg. These are the types of things, and I've talked about it in other stream where, you know what, fans are a little bit stung. I do still believe, though, that this squad, they're going to get it, man. Like I said, 11 wins through a little bit of a gauntlet of a schedule. Now they got this 4-game road trip.
Yeah, that's why you had to have that one. I hope that you're right. I hope that they're going to end up okay. But last night, they didn't just get punched in the mouth. They got D-Mac, Claude Lemieux turned in the mouth. A 29-point end of first quarter deficit, that's impossible. It's not. It happened.
I think you might agree with this. Jordan Lionheart, I'd be pissed if I was CADE right now.
Oh, absolutely.
That's how the All-Star
As a
campaign
CADE stan,
starts.
I'm pissed because he played all-star level basketball last night, as he always does, and he got no help.
Oh, yeah, we got our
No
paint
help.
protector now. We have our rim protector. Cade Cunningham,
Cade
4 blocks.
Cunningham, 4 blocks.
Yep. Hey, High Def Steph is in the building. Let's get to the next
Hey,
segment.
we got to talk about some good news. The Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions. Hey, TLB is on the way. Want to know what the best pregame Lions party is for the Monday night game against the 49ers on December 30th? Join us now at Detroit's very own second best bar, located at 42 Washington.